Hi, this is Danny. This is lesson 7 of 10 on how to play the saxophone. So lesson 7 is going to be in 2 halves. The reason for that is the first half is going to be explaining a few bits about this second octave, but the second part of the video has 4 tracks that you can play that will help you to practice the saxophone. But you obviously don't want to go through all of this waffle every time you want to play these tracks. So I'll do the theoretical bit, and 7B, if you like, will just be the tracks, and you can play along and you don't need any of this waffly nonsense. So back in the early stages of these lessons, we talked about C bag in the left and Fed in the right. And I mentioned to you, what am I talking about? And in lesson 6, I introduced this key to you, which is called the octave key. Now, in very straightforward and simple terms, what we're going to do is go into the second octave of the saxophone and play D, E, F, G, A, B, and C. But this time, because it's the second octave, we are always going to have the octave key down. But in reverse, go up, 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 up. Hopefully, if you try to play C bag and Fed with the octave key on, it should play through and it'll sound and you'll be in the second octave. But in some cases, you may run into a few problems. It might start to, for want of a better way of putting it, it might die on you on your way up. So you might find that it tries to fall back down. And that's all to do with your embouchure. The way that I'm faking that happening is by lowering my jaw and not supporting the reed to help me get up through the octave. Another thing is, if it isn't working, is that you might need to support the note with your diaphragm. Now, the diaphragm can be quite complicated in learning how to use it, but this is, I suppose, an easy way to kind of introduce it to you. The diaphragm is a muscle that lies underneath the lungs and it drops to allow the lungs to fill to their full capacity. When you blow out or exhale, the diaphragm moves up and obviously is used to push the air from the lungs down into the instrument. One of the few times that you will see people engage their diaphragm properly is when they're asleep or when they're relaxing. And when they breathe in, their stomach will go up. When they breathe out, the stomach goes down. And it's because the diaphragm is moving down below the stomach muscles. Is that right? Am I making this up now? Need Athlete X to tell me. I should say, as a disclaimer, my understanding of it is as the diaphragm moves down to allow the lungs to fill, it obviously pushes the stomach forward as it moves down below those muscles. But what a lot of people do is when they take a deep breath, particularly when you ask younger children to do it, is they go, and they lift the shoulders up and the diaphragm actually comes up, and it's limiting the amount of air that you can get into your lungs because your diaphragm is working in the opposite way and you're not filling your lungs properly. What you need to do when you take a deep breath is allow your stomach to come out, and you can actually force your stomach out just to kind of force the feeling of the diaphragm working. Remember, I'm giving you this in kind of layman's terms. Then if you're going to use the diaphragm to support these notes, one of the ways that I've kind of found is, which seems ridiculous, but I do think it works, is, this is possibly a Middlesbrough thing, but when I was a kid, people used to kind of walk past each other and pretend to like kind of dig each other in the stomach. So that like someone would be walking past you and you'd get that sort of movement. Someone, like into your stomach. And in defense of yourself, you kind of tense up a little bit and you tense your stomach muscle and you get like to kind of anticipate the fact that they might actually punch you. When you play in this upper part of the second octave, you need to engage that muscle to maybe support the note. But like I said earlier, it's hopeful that if you just press the octave key, you'll get up there anyway. I never thought I'd be using traumatic events from my Middlesbrough childhood to teach the sax, but there you go. And the only other thing to mention before you move on to lesson 7 part B is the way that the octave key works, because I've had students who've worried about their saxophone being broken. When you press the octave key, this little fella here on top goes up and down. But he only does that for some of the notes. So if I play C bag, can you see him properly there? Am I holding it a good way? So there's C, B, A, G. And he's gone down. He's gone down for G. G, A, B, and C. But when I get to the G and anything lower, that key drops back down. Now, that doesn't mean that your saxophone's broken. What happens there is the second octave key opens, and it's difficult to see. It's actually, let's see where we're at here. This little tiny fella right there. So if I put the octave key on and I play C bag, you will see C, B, A, G. There he is, he's opened up. And that key will open up for Fed as well. So your sax isn't broken, it's just that you've got two octave keys. It's just that this one is kind of given all of the glory. This poor lad never gets a look in. So that's it for 7A. What you need to do now is to move on to 7B and use the 4 tracks to practice your saxophone.